Hi there, and welcome to my continued coverage of the last tournament I played at, the Reykjavik Open. Maybe the only tournament this year that I'm going to be competing in or have competed in. And we're now going to look at my round 6 game, and this was a very, very tough game. First of all, let's just have a look at the pairings going into this round 6 game. I think 9 rounds in total. And you can see here that I've made it to board 5. And my opponent is the young player from Holland, Max Warmerdam. And I have to say, when I saw the pairings, I was really quite upset. I know you shouldn't be upset when you see the pairings, but why am I upset to be playing Max here on board 5? Well, first of all, I had a double black. I had black in the last round against a young prodigy, and I was really hoping to have the white pieces in this game. It makes quite a big difference for me. I feel I'm much stronger with the white pieces. So having black was really tricky. But also, out of all the players, I have a lot of respect for Max, and I know he was on a very good roll of winning multiple open tournaments, and I know he's very well prepared. So it was a little bit tough. I mean, I'm going to get my excuses in now for the game, not giving anything away. But I also had to move hotel for this game because there was a rave going on outside my hotel until 6 a.m. and I was lacking sleep, hadn't had much preparation, but all in all, it was really, let's just get the black pieces me. It was Max who played very well, but it was a very exciting game. Okay, so first of all, Max played d4. The only preparation I had done was for a French defence. So I was expecting him to play e4 and now d5, and he surprised me a lot when he played c4. It was actually quite a happy surprise, and I basically thought, well, look, I've just won a nice game the round before with the Stonewall Dutch. I beat this young prodigy from India. Why not do the same again? It worked last time, so I went for the same setup. My opponent was playing his moves very quickly. I brought my knight out. He goes knight f3, and of course I played the classical Dutch as well, but I assumed he'd be quite well prepared there. And I just, in some openings I decide I'm going to play a certain opening, and I kind of stick to that. And I thought, well, the Stonewall Dutch, I've had good success. Let's go for it. And this is where my opponent started playing his moves instantaneously, and it was a little bit stupid of me to maybe go into an opening where my opponent had clearly seen my game from the round before and was clearly probably expecting this line and clearly had something prepared. And he now played bishop f4 instantaneously, and I had never seen this move before. And just to go on with this move and the subsequent setup, it seems like this setup that my very well prepared opponent, who's the second, has been, I think, the second for Jordan Van Forest and Anish Giri, very well prepared. This setup seems to be one of the main ways to really fight against the stone wall. And it's quite interesting because I went to Norway after this tournament, a month later, and I was having dinner with David Howe, Magnus Carlsen, one of Magnus's friends, and I was sitting opposite Magnus, and Magnus basically said about this move and what white plays over dinner. He said, yeah, this is the best setup against the stone wall. And he implied, Magnus used to play the Stonewall Dutch, he implied that the setup that Max played here was one of the reasons why he doesn't play the Stonewall Dutch anymore. And it's one of the computers finds this setup, and so if it scares Magnus off, it's kind of like something to respect. Now, what's White's idea? Well, White's idea is generally to try and just control these dark squares, and he plays the bishop here before I get a chance to move my bishop and fight for control there. And one thing you're not supposed to do as black now is play the bishop to this square, and you're not supposed to exchange these guys off because it weakens that square in the middle. Now I'm having a bit of a deep dive into this game this time, just because it's a game that I feel like personally it helps me to work out what I do next time. So that's why this video is going to be a bit longer. Some of you might get bored, but it's very important to analyze your games deeply so you don't fall in the same mistake twice. Now the computer we can see here, and this is the neural network computer, gives this check, but I don't really like this move, and sometimes I mean I don't really see the point. I mean, I know generally taking this pawn ever is just not something I want to play. Why? Because it doesn't fit in with this move. Taking on c4 I know is just a bad positional move. I mean, I don't play the Stonewall Dutch to give up my center. So I think my next move is okay. Bishop e7, just developing the bishop. It can't be a bad move. Max now played queen c2, and I completed the Stonewall setup with c6, and Max was still playing instantaneously here. He developed with knight c3, and again I think these moves are all okay. I castled, why not? And now Max played e3, and again I was quite shocked to see these moves because it's the first time I was aware that anyone's ever gone for this setup. Now if we have a look on G-Chess, I'm using G-Chess to help me analyze this new idea. We can see, again, if you just follow my mouse, this is gchess.com, that this has been played 3 times with 100% score for white. So it's certainly up to black to find something here 3 times over the board. And my move that I played, I don't have a lot of faith in. I'm going to turn on the computer now. I'm going to put it on Layla. I see that actually I was asked I see a lot of comments in some of the YouTube videos is why are you using Stockfish, what is it, 11 or 12? Why aren't you using the latest version? There's 2 reasons for that. Number 1, the Stockfish I'm using is good enough. I mean, it's about 3,000 elo. That's good enough to analyze my games. I don't need anything that's, you know, it's already stronger than the world champion. Why do I need, you know, that's good enough. And the other thing is, at the moment on G-Chess, we use these computers because, and we got Layla. I really like Layla. It's my favorite computer. I use these computers to basically they fit in with the system, shall we say. Now it's very interesting here. I fought for a long time and I came up with the wrong plan. I put my knight on a6 because I was trying to create some quick ideas of coming over here, but it's interesting. This is key position for the opening, and I'm just trying to work out what I do in future. We can see that a couple of ideas have been played here. Let's just have a look at this b6 idea because it's very logical, like I played in my last game against Renuk, to get the bishop to this diagonal. So let's just bring up this game, and this is this one here. So I'm just going to load it in and just see how this game continued. So bishop d3, knight e4, h4, a5, a3, bishop b7, and then knight d7. And I have to say, looking at this position, after some simple moves here, this looks okay for black. This looks like it might be slightly worse for black, but black is very solid. And here, taken with a c-pawn can't be that bad for black. So if I got this position again, first of all, b6 is a move that I would certainly want to investigate because it's very logical to try and just develop my pieces and prepare c5. This is the way that Kramnik suggested you play the Stonewall Dutch. But I also noted that a new idea that Layla recommends here is h6. And this is, I mean, I say my opponent's setup is very surprising because it is surprising that he's trapped this bishop here into the system. So h6, aiming to play g5 and trapping that bishop, does actually seem fairly logical. I'm getting attacked by wasps here. I've got wasp nests outside my window. And let's just go back and have a look at this h6 move. Well, this, I mean, Layla gives h3, but the move that would be scaring me is h4. This move is the move that's scaring me. And let's just see how this line continues, because I'm a bit worried about my opponent getting grip of this g6 square now that I've weakened it with this move. So sometimes you can follow the computer, but you've got to think for yourself. And now Layla's idea is to go knight to this d7, but not allowing knight g5, which is a common trick. This knight coming into e6. And what's my plan here, though? This is what I'm wondering. I mean, I don't know. Let's say my opponent plays bishop d3. Is it just to go knight e4 and play like this? And even this seems much better than what I played, because we do have this idea of g5 at the right time. Okay, so that's another interesting idea. So I'm getting some ideas about what I'm going to play. I'm not going to go into this position deeper because it probably bore you. But this is certainly a position that is critical for the Stonewall Dutch in general as an opening. And it's something that if I ever play the Stonewall again, I will have done a lot of homework on, and I will have some ideas. But I'm going to now show you the rest of the game, because obviously I wasn't aware of these things during the course of the game. Okay, so let's have a look. So I played knight a6, and my idea here is to maybe use this one. And also, I was thinking about this long maneuver as well, trying to get the knight in that way. My opponent played rook c1, and now I played a normal move, knight e4. g5 is possible, so my opponent stops that with h4. And it feels now that my knight here is just misplaced. I'll be honest. I feel like it's much better in the center of the board, because I'm never really. This is just like an artificial move. If I move the knight here, my opponent just drops back and he's going to kick my knight away. I had spent a lot of time here because I was trying to get ideas like pawn takes pawn, b5, b4 working, but I just couldn't see them. So okay, so I developed bishop d7. One idea is to try and bring this guy around. Another idea to develop my piece. Bishop e2. And again, I was really struggling here to find a plan. Normally, when you get into this middle game position in any opening, you should know what you're doing in the middle game. But I couldn't find the right plan here. And again, I was trying to force a plan upon the position, which, in actual fact, the Stonewall is a very solid setup. So I can here just try to improve my pieces, and I think the idea of bringing my knight back into the center, aiming for one of these two central squares, is just logical and okay. Now let's put it on Stockfish. I'll just move it to Stockfish 11, and we can see that the computer really does like the position. Does this have a tactical problem of bishop takes knight? That was the issue. Yes, I think it was here that I suddenly realized that if I continue with knight to c7, then there's a tactical problem with this move, and then maybe this, and if I go here, this one. And I was trying to work this position out, but can I just take this way? And then if knight takes, this is also looking quite nice, but maybe I can try this with the idea of getting a little bit of counterplay, of playing check and putting pressure against this one. This was interesting, actually. Maybe I should have considered this. So knight c7, but is there something even stronger? Okay, well, the computer, look how much it likes white's position. It's incredible, yeah. I don't think it's that bad, but my whole plan, it just seems wrong, because when my opponent gets the knight there, I've got to be able to exchange it off with my knight, and this knight is just totally misplaced. This is such a bad idea. I'd never be playing knight a6 in future. This is just something that's clear. Let's go on with the game anyway. So, okay, turn the computer off for now. I played b5, and I was trying to get some counterplay by sacking a pawn, but my opponent just kept it closed, and this move annoyed me because I'd spent a lot of time working out what happens, for example, if my opponent takes here, and I come to the conclusion that if he takes here now, I can win a piece with this check, winning the bishop. And if he takes with the bishop here, I thought that I can get a lot of counterplay by doing this kind of thing, and now the check, and now something along the lines of rook c8, and a lot of play for the pawn, or even this one looked very tempting, and this is why I put my knight on a6. But of course, after the move b5, I'm relying on him accepting my gambit, and as he's such a strong player, Max is like, no, I'm just going to keep it closed. I've got domination over this weak square. What is your plan, Simon? And here again, I'm struggling for a plan. So this was just a quality move. Okay, so we went for a little bit of maneuvering now. I moved my knight back, Max come in. I tried to get my knight to a better square. Max now starts hitting this pawn. In actual fact, I'd rather have this pawn back here. It's now a weakness. I tried to defend that one. Max exchanges off quite cleverly. And the point now is if I take this way, then, well, I'm just quite a lot worse here for a start. I mean, look at how much the computer likes this. It gives it as plus 2.5 pawns nearly. This is how bad things were. I mean, I thought that the best idea, and the computer agrees, that if I take this way, at least I've got ideas of getting a piece to this square. And if I can get my knight to that square, it might not be that bad. I'm just trying to make the best of a bad position. My opponent played queen b3, and you've always got to work out what his idea is. And his idea is knight takes c6, bishop takes, queen takes e6, check, winning my bishop. So if I go for my standard maneuver, this one will just win a pawn and win the game. So I have to be aware of what he's trying, and I've got to defend. Queen c8 defending here. Now my opponent played rook a1, and now I continue with knight f6. And around here I'm starting to feel a little bit better, because if my knight gets here, I'm starting to feel very confident. And Max may have missed a little tactical idea. He took on b5. Now taking with the pawn loses, because he's going rook takes rook, queen takes, knight takes bishop, queen takes here. But I've got to therefore take this way. And I think he thought he could play pawn to c6, but actually he can't play this move, because after bishop takes, my bishop comes to d5. For example, rook c1 may look like it's winning a piece, but bishop d5, and it's actually white who's now losing. So suddenly, after this move, Max now castled, and I now play bishop c6. I'm starting to think I'm back in the game, because I've got at least one square which I'm controlling. Now the computer is not as optimistic as me. Let's leave the computer on and see how things go. The green moves on the board, the computer's top choice. We'll let that run for a little bit. He played rook a3, just ganging up on this pawn. And now I thought positionally, what is my main problem? It's this knight. So positionally, what I want to do is get rid of this knight, and at the same time make sure I have complete control of this square. So I had a very small positional idea, and I put that into operation. My knight comes in, and now I get rid of this knight here. But the other thing I'm doing, I'm just simplifying. I'm trying to get my bad bishop to that square, so I'm happy to simplify. And we now see that I play bishop here, and after bishop takes here, I've managed to simplify the position, and I think this position is very holdable. As in, I've just got to now not get too optimistic. Actually, around this point, I was thinking I might win this game, and then I will definitely have white in the next round. And if we go back to the score group, we can see that I'm only half a point off the leader. And if I win this round, I might be in the lead with the white pieces. I can win this tournament. And this was completely ridiculous way to think. You should never think about the tournament score or the tournament or anything like that during the course of your game. You've got to get rid of those thoughts and concentrate on the board. It's really bad, you know, health-wise, chess-wise, to think ahead like that. Just concentrate on the game. So that was mentally just the wrong thing to do. And I now got optimistic, and I thought, well, hang on a minute, maybe I can try to win this game if I can try to take over the D file and possibly combine this with, at the right moment, some e3 move, opening up this diagonal. I mean, think about if I get my bishop here, my queen here, e3, and then my queen might be able to come in here. And I was getting really optimistic, but the point really is here. There's no reason why I should be better. I mean, I've done a great job of defending. I'm very, very stable here, but my opponent has all this pressure on my queen side, and there's not really any realistic chances to attack him. So why on earth should I be better here? And what I should be doing in this position, I think, is just playing something like queen c6, defending everything, and just saying, what are you going to do? Because I've got the ultimate, really, kind of blockade. I can defend this pawn again, maybe by bringing my rooks over like this, put my queen here. And this is the kind of thing that a much better player than me would do. Like, let's say, Ulf Andersson historically with Magnus Carlsen, someone like that, the top GMs would realise that here you've just got to sit and wait and actually be patient. So I really show a lack of patience here. I got too excited. Now what does the computer think? Well, the computer thinks here that I'm still in trouble, but it also, you can see, is not as bad as it was, and there's no obvious way just by looking at the moves that it's suggesting that white can break through. It's given some weird plan with the rook coming here in g4, which looks very unlikely to work in my eyes, but this is quite odd. Okay, so anyway, I went rook d8. Now this is all right because there's nothing wrong with this move on its own. My opponent played rook d1, and this is where I start. Okay, this is still okay. Queen c6. I'm just getting my pieces on good squares. Rook d4. My opponent just controlling the center, and this is kind of okay. Rook d7. Rook a5, hinting at this one, and this is where I've just got to now go passive, and this is maybe one of my big errors in chess, not going passive at the right moment. And here, if I just move my rook and again just wait, I'm not sure white can break me down. It's probably just likely to be a draw here with best play. But I saw an idea with rook d8. I'm getting quite short a time here. It's move, let's have a look what move we are on. At this point in time, it's move 28. We've got to get to move 40 in a time. We're both getting down to under 5 minutes, and I'm not very good when I'm short time. And I thought, right, I'm going to go for it. I see an opportunity to get my rook in. I see a tactical idea. Let's try it. And my tactical idea after queen a1 is give this pawn up, which I have to now, because I can't now go back and defend because bishop takes b5 it is working well. This is why I needed to get my rook here in order to defend like this. But my idea is to now counterattack and try to win this game with bishop c4. And this was a very interesting idea where I'm going to come through this way, and I saw one winning line for me, but my calculation and instinct was actually a bit off here. And it gets very complex. You can see the computer has worked this all out, of course, but let's turn it off and think from a human point of view. The key line being rook takes a6, and now queen takes, and after this move, rook takes d4. And I was finding this position very hard to assess at the time. All credit to Max, who had assessed this much better than me, had worked out that white's better, but I was getting very optimistic here. I was thinking, okay, I've got two rooks to the queen, but I see some very nice ideas of e3 and my c pawn queening. I can win this game. And one idea that I saw, for example, Max now took on c4, which is forced, and now I get this position, and it's really a race of whose pawn's the strongest. And the one line which I saw here, and again, Max, you can see he finds the computer's top choice, and if we put it on 3 lines of calculation, well, you can see as long as white finds this king g2 idea, white is winning, but any other moves is far from clear. And the move that I was calculating when I went into this, I only calculated what I thought was the most critical move, and of course pawn to c6 looks the most critical, right? Because he's just going to attack my rook, and how do I stop that pawn? And against this move here, I cannot push my c pawn because this one is just winning. There's nothing I can do here. Look, +8. But what I can do, anyone see a good move here? You can test yourself by pausing now. I can actually play e3, and this is the one move I saw. And the point with this is that if he now takes this pawn, I can checkmate him by bringing both my rooks in and go here. And this is what was getting me very excited, that if he goes a very obvious move, then I couldn't see a good solution for him after this one. I thought he might have to bring his queen back, very passive, because now if he plays here, I might have even got this wrong in actual fact. Can I go c6 now? I mean, yeah, e2. Okay, it's not as good as it looks, but of course I can force a draw here. But this move look to be winning, but there's a way he can draw here. But you can see that, you know, this gives me very, very good chances where he's got to find the draw. But what I had missed was, okay, he takes on e6 check, and now after this one he's got to be very accurate. You can test yourselves if you want. There's only one way to win, and he finds it. I mean, this shows his class. King g2, and he's just now asking me, I missed this move, what is your next plan? Because you can't now bring both of your rooks in, because if you play e3, for example, I can simply take it, and the lines are different, because if you go check now, well, the king can come to probably either of these squares, and in the last line I had this rook over here with checkmate, but here what am I doing? I'm not doing anything at all. So this king g2 idea stops everything. Really, really clever stuff, or to do with the e3 move. And I suddenly like, oh my god, you know, it's a horrible feeling when you think you're doing well in a key game. You suddenly realise that your opponent's outfought you, and you're probably losing. It's like horrible reality hitting you in the face. And we can see here that I don't really have any options. I mean, I think I played not the best move. c3 was what I should have tried, and after queen b3 though, again I should be losing here. So this king g2 was a really star move just to stop my idea of pushing with e3. I was short of time, I panicked, I played rook d2, but I'm probably losing anyway, with the idea of trying to attack here. But my opponent again had calculated. This is where deep calculation is important. The c pawn comes down, and now after e3, well, he plays c7. I now tried the move e2, because how's he going to stop my pawn? But I had seen that I was losing here, and my opponent finishes the game. Again, you can try to calculate this as well yourself, but what is his idea and disposition? Because of course he, you know, that pawn is very, very close to dropping down, and he finishes this off again very, very nicely. He attacks my rook. Tempo is important. He's threatening to take that with checkmate. I can't use my rook actively because my back rank is too weak. If I had a pawn on h6, maybe I'm doing okay here, because I could put my rook down and maybe even winning. But I can't do that here, so I've got to put my rook passive. Might as well put it behind the pawn. And now he simply comes back with his queen. My last chance is to push the c pawn. He pushes the z pawn. I think I saw another winning idea here. Okay, this is working. Well, what else can I do? I've got to push my c pawn, and now he pushes the z pawn, and it becomes clear he's just there, and he's just calculated this very well. If I queen, he back ranks me, so I have to block that one. Only move, and even here he's calculated so well, because look, my pawns are, you know, he can't take here because I queen and I'm winning, but I don't have a move here. He's covering both of my pawns. I'm tied down to this one, so he just goes king to f3, and he's just going to try and take these ones with the king. Very, very nice finish. I make my king an escape square. What else can I do? He simply takes that one, and after rook takes e7, trying to get a queen ending where I might be able to get some hope of a draw. Well, my opponent just goes king d2, and it's clear now that my only option is to resign. So well played to my opponent for winning that game. I was getting a little bit too excited. Lessons to be learnt there. Well, the opening, obviously, I got a very uncomfortable position, but then I got right back into the game, and around this position here, I got a little bit too optimistic. I don't think in general going for the win was the wrong idea, but practically when you're short of time, if I didn't have really enough time to calculate this bishop c4 move, so I'm really just gambling here, and I shouldn't have gone for this. My position didn't really demand that I should be playing for a win. Why should I be playing for a win here? I can't be better. Instead, I needed to just keep my light square fortress and play for the draw. So sometimes passive play is the right way, but I'm sure you'll agree very well played to Max, who's going to be a real start in the future. And that was a tough second black game to lose from. Remember to like and subscribe, as hopefully you will already have done. I'll try to finish off the rest of my games in this tournament. Obviously, disappointing game there, dropping me down the score group. But, you know, there's still some rounds to go and I can still fight back. So, well, I'll bring those games to you shortly. Yeah, cheers for now.